I miss the days when bullying was still legal.
You can bully me if you want.
I thought you said bowling.
I thought he said bowling too. I was like, wait, when did they outlaw bowling? It's the one sport.
Because nobody owns their own bowling ball. Everybody goes and borrows it.
I didn't pin you as a bowling fan.
Goodwill has everybody's stuff there, so somebody had to own bowling balls at one point besides the alley.
I once bowled a 301.
Hey everybody, I'm Dane Holland, and I fit an 80-inch by 36-inch door into my little Mazda hatchback earlier and brought it to the house.
I am Austin Shazam Pfeiffer, and I have recently eaten room temperature sushi off of a cheap Chinese buffet, and these are my dying words.
Those are your dying words.
They're going to be inscribed on his tombstone.
I'm Marcus Whitaker.
Thank you.
And I am Electric Man.
That's on my tombstone now.
It's part of his tombstone.
Oh, I was your last word.
Unfortunately.
There was a comma. It's a continuation.
I am Marcus Whitaker. I am Electric Man. I always loved Austin. He was a goofy kid.
Who are you?
I'm the rooster. I'm drinking a truly strawberry lemonade.
Delicious.
What else is in it?
Hard seltzer.
We're in trouble, boys.
Oh, no.
We've introduced alcohol to the show.
Oh, what?
First time we've ever done that, and I don't care what you say.
It
What?
contains less than 1% juice.
Bet you
What
didn't
does
know
that have
that.
to do with anything?
Wine. Duh.
Wine. Duh.
Wanda.
What? You guys have topics that are similar in nature, so we're going to split those up. I don't know what yours is, so I kind of want to hear yours
He
first.
didn't come with one.
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't bring one.
Yeah, he did.
No. Did you? You brought one?
He's got the Hello Kitty notebook. You know he came with something. He's got notes.
Not only did I come with notes,
You ripped them out of the book.
everybody, but I've got a two-parter.
Wait, so you're taking up one of our sections? You're just going
This
to go
is
ahead
a
and...
podcast
There's
for
a-
four best friends.
No, we don't.
According to Dane, we do.
I keep missing that part because I just get so excited.
For the record, I asked at the very beginning.
You did.
Are we doing
No,
the
I did.
grapevine
And you
thing?
tried to lead me into it silently.
Yeah.
But here we go.
Yeah.
Let's give me some reverse.
Penis.
It's the Disney remix.
We did say Synip at one point earlier, so that would make a lot of sense. This is Nerdy Through the Grapevine. It's a podcast where four best friends gather weekly to talk about our favorite parts of past, present, and future nerd culture. And let's get into that. Write me out. Ooh, good toast. I wasn't a part of it. I don't deserve to be a part of a toast, though, because...
Tink,
yeah,
or
no.
clink.
Pour a little tank tank.
I don't do
Paul, little tank, tank. Well, here we go. When did it all start? I'd recently talked to Dane about this, and it was kind of like some...
Well, no, hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt. When did it all start? Mm-hmm. And you recently started talking to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it started.
No.
Okay.
No.
This is just very vague. And
Nope.
I'm-
It's coming at you.
It's a...
It's coming at you.
now I'm ready.
It's a slow ball, and you've already swung.
and I missed.
That's a strike.
You got
That's one.
two more.
And
Unless you
sports
connect.
ball.
And I'm out of the podcast?
Yeah.
Sports ball. Anyway, basically, what I'm meaning is, where did it all start? Where did it all start for you in your, in your memories of?
Genesis.
I'm going to keep it together. I'm going to keep my breathing under control.
Go on.
I can't. So, what I mean is, where did it all begin? Like your nerdiness. Where did you first figure out that it was, a part of who you were, and it wasn't just things that you happen to be doing, like it was a part of who you were? Does everybody have a memory like that?
I do. I don't think I realized it at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but I can go back to it. I think it was probably like Madden 96 or 7.
Okay.
One of the two. I was just getting decent enough at playing like video games, and my brother was way better than me. So I found out the only way I could compete is if I built a better team. And so I got in depth at how the game actually worked and like what the ratings meant, what I needed. And that was probably like the first time I nerded out.
Yeah.
From like I mean, I was just every day I would trade for different people. I figured out like how to break the trade system back then.
So like competition is what?
Oh yeah, but I mean,
Like-
like I learned every single thing I could about the game.
Yeah.
Glitch plays, like anything and everything I could figure out.
Yeah. So instead of playing a video game, you became part of the video game.
Yep,
That's
The
good.
owner and the coach.
that was
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd just like everybody to share it a little bit.
That was down. No, that's
I know
definitely yeah.
you took the
Definitely.
lead on that. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
you're
That's
welcome.
exactly what I wanted.
That was-
so,
yeah.
Who wants to go next on that?
I kind of mentioned a few episodes ago how it was when I had the topic of what's bad about being a nerd.
Yeah.
And I remembered my first book that I like actually wanted to read like for fun was Lord of the Rings, and I guess about 12. And remember, I told this story already. I guess I'll tell it again. So I open it up at my grandmother's house on Christmas Eve, and then people are all asking me what it is and stuff, and I'm embarrassed, and I wanted to keep it like close. I didn't want anybody to know about
Yeah,
it.
it was a special secret.
I hadn't implemented that into my personality yet, but somehow deep down I still knew that I needed it. I mean, because we're all young. We all had Star Wars toys. We all had. It all started from before we even had any say in the matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it was probably Pokemon cards, I think, because I had collected baseball cards for a long time. But I don't think there was a whole lot of nerd behind it besides just wanting all the Braves cards I could get and King Griffey Jr. cards. And I don't know. So there was a little bit in that. But I think the moment of realization was we used to go to a store called On Q that became... Oh, what was it after On Q?
Sam Goody.
Sam Goody. Yeah, so it was On Q, and then Sam Goody, and then maybe FYE is now what that kind of used to be.
That's in the
No, it's a vacant building now.
Oh, it's just vacant. Okay, never mind then. But anyway, I was collecting Pokemon cards for forever, and when I say forever, probably like a year at that time. But then at FYE, just what did I call it again? On Q.
On Q.
At On Q, they would have Pokemon tournaments like every Sunday. So whenever I found out about that, I was like, man, I can like take all these cards I've got and actually make a real deck and learn how to play the game, because I had a bunch of the cards but didn't really teach myself how to play much. Like we had our own house rules and stuff. Like my nephew now is doing that exact same thing. Like he'll take out a deck and he'll hand me a bunch of cards and we'll just kind of flip some over and pretend kind of what we're playing. But he's getting to the age now, probably about the same time I was whenever I was little, of okay, I know I'm not doing this right. I want to do it right and actually have some kind of like competition, like game with it. So at On Q, me and my brother, I think my sister was a little too young at the time, but we would go and they would just have a bunch of kids playing Pokemon, and they had badges like from the show. Whenever you would beat a gym, and from the video games, you would get a badge. And the way you got badges in this was like either by winning so many games or
Making so many trades, you could do it with
trades.
trades too.
Yeah, you could do it with
I
trades.
used to do that
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
I am. Remember
But
them all.
I was always so like protective of my cards, like because I would want to trade for something, but at the same time I didn't want to give anything up because I just loved all mine that I had. But the way I got a badge was I taught another kid how to play, so I learned the game quickly. Like I went through. I had that little bitty book that came with the starter deck boxes. And it had the instructions on how to play the game. And I remember even the pages in my head, the layouts and the Pokemon's like images on those pages and stuff. I read through that thing so much and got to where I just knew the game inside and out. So there were younger kids there that didn't really know how to play. They just had a bunch of cards. So I sat down with them and showed them how to make a deck. And I was still a little kid too. But I remember sitting underneath where all the CDs were in this, like, it was kind of like a little pyramid shaped shelving situation. You know, like whenever you see like CD racks and stuff. and we were small enough that we would just sit underneath that and play our matches against each other. So I taught this kid how to play, and we battled each other, and I whipped the ever-living mess out of this kid in that game.
He never recovered.
Never stood a chance.
Never recovered.
I think he threw his cards in the garbage on the
still
way out the
thinking
front
about
door.
it.
Probably.
Dropped out of
I
sixth
hope
grade.
he's listening. He may find me eventually.
I would
But-
honestly go to the garbage cans and wait because people would actually throw away their cards.
Idiots.
Yeah, they would. They would get mad.
I did that.
Yeah,
That was a
That's
thing.
good. That's a good thing. Garbage boy. I like
Yeah.
it.
I got an Alakazam from Japan
Oh.
that was holographic
That's
out of
nice.
that.
But the way that I got that badge, I didn't even realize that you could get a badge by doing that. I just knew there were ways to do it. I assumed it was just by winning, and I was like, I'm never going to do that. I just learned the game. But the kid's dad went and told the people that were working there that I just showed his son how to actually play the game. So they came over there and they gave me my Boulder badge, and I was like, I was so ecstatic. I wish I still had it. I may have it somewhere, like at my grandparents' house in like the attic or something.
That
but
needs to go up on some
it
wall.
needs something.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I wish
It
it was
was-
like Scott Pilgrim, and you just heard
and it appears.
Yep.
Yeah. Scott Pilgrim, man, that's great. That needs to be something we talk about at one point. Not now.
You got
just
the
did.
Boulder badge.
Yeah. But yeah, that Boulder badge was like the first, I think that was that first moment of intrinsic like reward, as well as extrinsic.
Extra sponge.
I got a thing, and I felt good. I got a thing, I felt good, and then I was like, oh man, like this whole nerd thing's gonna work out. And,
Pay off one day.
And here we are, back then, baby Dane getting his
That's-
Boulder badge.
That's kind of what brings me to mind is because it's in my lineage. It's in my core.
It's in your nature.
It's something that I can't really help because it's the way it's always been. And I can remember back to being just, you know how you can sometimes get those early childhood memories to where they're just like fuzzy, and not my dad, but
That's his dad's name.
they're just like, they're not very vivid, and there's no context to them or anything, but they're there. Mm-hmm. Mine are weird like that in a way that you can have more vivid, kind of scope into it, but I can't remember how small I was. All I can remember is I couldn't do much. It's insane. But ask me something I did 3 days ago, and I'll forget about it. But I was at my uncle's house, and he had the Superman television show from the, I think it was the 40s. That was based off the serials that were the weekly release serials on the radio. Up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane.
Oh, it's Superman.
Yes. And I can remember watching that, and he would tell me all about him, and he would tell me, how far apart they were spaced, and how sometimes you'll notice some differences in the storyline because it's, not the same episode line, they've skipped since I've seen him last. And he explained a lot to me, and then one day, that dude flew. Mm-hmm. And because in the beginning of stuff, it was just, more powerful than a locomotive, faster than a speeding bullet, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. He couldn't fly. Mm-mm. But then one day he did. And that just changed the game for me. And it's just bred into me like that. Star Wars was my dad. Superhero stuff was my uncle. And then X-Men, my brother, when he paid attention to me. That's what I got. But it's in my lineage, and that's what brings me to the second part of my story.
Two pages of notes?
I'm sorry.
3 pages of notes?
No, you'll get it in a minute.
A whole book of notes?
Lineage. Much like Dora.
Oh no, we're going back to Dora the Explorer.
And her parents, the explorers. The difference in an explorer and a treasure hunter is an explorer wants to go and study and learn, where a treasure hunter only wants to take. Coming out 2 years ago, and never to be seen in theaters, Dora and the Lost City of Gold.
Was this all a segue just into you being able to talk about the Dora the Explorer movie?
Damn right.
It got me. He got me.
I was so into it.
I have told people at work, like Ethan, I told him how much Austin loved the Dora the Explorer movie, and I watched it with him, and it was fun, but I just kind of forgot about it after it happened. This man loves this movie so much, and me, after explaining the passion you have behind this film to Ethan, he went home and watched it, and now he's quoting it at work.
Mm-hmm.
He texted me, he was like, dude, Dora's low-key hot. And I immediately went to IMDb and looked up the actress. I was like, and she's 19, so I was like, okay, you're fine.
Safe.
You're safe.
Something about the bangs, man.
It's okay, bud.
Michael Pena, one of my favorite comedic actors. He was the dad.
You've only got like 2 minutes, so if you just
Eva
started this
Longoria
film-
is the mom. And Benicio, Eva Longoria is the mom.
Evil Longoria.
That's
Eva.
worth 3 minutes in its own, to be honest.
Benicio del Toro is the voice of Swiper.
No swiping, Rooster.
He says, he's like, no, give me that.
But it's still Benicio. It's a star-studded cast.
That's amazing.
All I want to do is just take a short amount of time and I'll finish up my time with saying, you should watch the movie. You should give it a chance. You should give me some feedback, because I know you'll be listening. Whoever you are, give me some feedback and tell me it was not entertaining, at the least. Or you might think the Dora is low-key hot, and it's okay, because that's enjoying a movie within itself.
Well, and it's okay because she's 19.
Exactly.
That was the weirdest, which is such a weird thing for a room full of 30-year-olds to say, but...
I have not said that yet. I'm on the fence.
Are you waiting until
That's
like...
probably why you're not saying
not
anything.
Wait until like
Because you're
45
on a
minutes in the
fence.
podcast?
That's true. I need to see the movie, then I'll decide.
That was the weirdest segue into Dora.
It was good.
It was
That
great.
was good, though.
I had to get you. I had to have it masterfully constructed.
I'm gonna consider that 2 strikes on me, because that was a curveball, and
But I know where everyone's like nerdom came from, except for yours.
The action,
yeah, the Superman stuff with his uncle.
the
Were you not
Superman thing
listening? Did you
was
tune
that's
out?
that's real.
I did
100%
tune out
real.
Completely, you zoned out.
That's
during the whole-
100%
No.
real.
His heart.
You have
See,
You're just gonna have to
what I
listen to the
remember from
podcast.
that, I believe, don't you have the records of them?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Of the original.
We found them at a
the
yard sale.
The long yard sale.
The longest yard sale in
127.
the world.
Yeah.
The whole world.
The old 127 yard
Yeah,
sale.
Superman was my dad, like, instilled that to me. Like, he was like, here is Superman. It's his favorite thing ever.
Do we know what
that's mine,
episode he
too.
flew in?
Nope.
No?
We would,
just
that would,
curious.
that would be a
curious.
Google knowledge, and that's not real knowledge.
The first cartoon serial was him fighting the giant robots. Yes? Wasn't it?
One of them.
I'm going to say yes.
One of them was, because I remember.
Marcus?
I remember those things, because they had like those giant light bulb heads on the top and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That style of animation was so smooth. Like, it's weird seeing that now and thinking they made that way back then, because even some like old Disney like reels and things like that style, that artistic style of animation is also fluid, and the way they did that just kind of blows my mind compared to how easy it is to do all that now. But when they were like having to pen and ink like all these different scenes and the way they filmed them together, it's crazy.
It's crazy. I was thinking about that today, too.
Like
I
just
really was.
earlier, randomly,
Just
really.
randomly was thinking about it.
Just
Yeah.
because they would have to have it layer and then a slight movement layer. That's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. Even Walt Disney got it wrong sometimes.
Never.
I
never saw one.
In Bambi, there's a shift at the very end of the movie where the raccoon's on one rock and then on another rock and then bounces to another rock. I won't get into that.
That's magic.
But anyway,
You need to learn
You'll
about
get into Dora the
druids.
Explorer, but
Just-
not the shift of the raccoon.
Once
need
you
to learn
understand
about
Dungeons
druids.
and Dragons, okay, that raccoon will make a lot more sense.
The
Trust me.
Bambi verse is actually part of the Dungeons and Dragons universe.
Trust me.
Love it. Love it. Thank you for taking me back.
you're welcome. And also, watch Dora the Explorer and the Lost City of Gold.
Well,
El Dorado is that?
Don't. That's what
No.
you'd think it is, but it's not.
Oh,
So you got to watch it and find out.
Yeah, he's
is the City of Gold knowledge?
not going to spoil the movie.
I guessed it. I cracked the code, the Dora code.
solved.
You did it. You did it.
That's a Dora the Explorer reference.
I liked your segue so much that I'm going to riff off of it a little bit.
Ooh.
Because
Our first riff.
you said, like, where does it begin for you? Genesis.
I did
But
say
you know,
we get
He did. So.
no.
okay.
But
We're getting
really
I'm just
nervous.
going to make a
This is
point
Marcus's Bible
that
hour.
I could sing the Ninja Turtles theme song before I was capable of conscious like thoughts or memories. So in a way, it was bestowed upon me, and I think I inherited whatever my father's side of the family had with like the nerd kind of culture, because my dad used to like go buy a box set. He went and bought the box sets of the old 1970s Planet of the Apes, and then like hid it from everybody, like because he wasn't supposed to buy it, but he had to have it. And he like the Star Trek and stuff. So basically what I'm saying is those stories, like Star Wars and like the nerd culture is just as much a part of our culture as the holy texts. You know, we've learned about them from the same time we were young growing up. We're just as familiar with Luke Skywalker as we are with Jesus.
Yeah.
But
True.
But
I
then
know
there was a
more
time
about
where
Luke.
I kind of discovered it for myself. Like I found something of mine when I was in high school, and it was the TV show called Lost.
Oh my gosh.
Who's seen it?
I have.
Yep.
All of it?
No.
Nope.
I watched the first season
Me too.
and I got pissed
Oh.
the way it ended. And
The
I
first
haven't
season?
seen and I haven't seen
Really?
one since.
How did it end? Oh,
I believe it ended with
I mean, I
them
know how it
finding
ended.
the
Wait.
door. And I think at
looking down the hatch.
episode 3 is when I learned about the door.
Yeah.
And so the entire first season, I
little bit
wanted
later
to
than
know what was behind the door.
I
And
have
then it
he's an
ended the
expert at
season
this.
with it, right?
the last I can remember of when I watched Lost was when they got to the sequence of lottery numbers that was a part of a code, and that's
What?
the last part I got to.
The numbers 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42.
Yes.
Yep.
You could have just lied to me, but yes.
You're
Nope,
such
that's
a
it.
nerd, dude.
No, I'm such a nerd.
That-
I've seen the series probably over 10 times, and they're like 24 episode seasons at the for the first 3.
Does it make more sense the more you watch it, or less sense?
I don't
Well,
know.
if you were a super nerd like me
Okay.
and were involved in
I'm
the
not.
message boards
Yes.
after each episode,
Okay.
and they had these little kind of, what do you call them? They're like they had these little games during their off season. So like during the off season, they would have this like marketing campaign where they would like show these ads on ABC, and it would be like this little company called like the Hanso Foundation, and there was like a little website. You Google the Hanso Foundation, and you find out that they're like the people that fund the Dharma Initiative, who are this mysterious like cult, like scientific cult on the island. And so there's a lot of things that they put out in between seasons that only really the hardcore nerds
Yeah.
for the show got. And so, yes, they did kind of make the mistake of explaining maybe some of the mysteries outside of the show.
Something very similar to that's happening now with
Yeah.
the Star Wars universe as well.
Yeah. And people aren't happy about it.
No,
I'm sure.
they're not.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing a lot of the Star Wars stuff with like books and
comics,
and
yeah.
cartoons and stuff. But
Yeah. Well, and Lost references Star Wars a lot.
Really?
Oh, yeah. But anyway, it's like one of those shows that kind of ushered in this golden age of television, quote unquote, that, you know, shows like Breaking Bad and onward.
Desperate Housewives.
Yeah. So the
Look it
guy
up.
that actually like signed the go ahead to make the pilot episode actually got fired for okaying such an expensive project. But then the show turned out to be a huge hit, and so it paid off. But dude still lost his job because of it. And they actually had J.J. Abrams. There was somebody that wrote a script, and then they had J.J. Abrams come in and was like, "Hey, do something with this idea. You know, this idea where these people crash on an island." So he basically helped them write the pilot and helped them kind of world build this island, this mysterious island. And then he dipped out. And he gets 2 other writers, Carlton Cuse and Damon Lindelof, to kind of take the helm. And so
So that's 4 writers for the show, like
In the first season.
starting with the guy who originally wrote it, and he's the pilot.
He
he's
wrote
gone.
kind of like a modern day Gilligan's Island type thing.
Okay.
JJ comes in and says,
Weirds it up.
let's make it a mystery box.
Yeah.
Let's make the
Okay.
whole island a massive mystery box, you
Yeah.
know, because he's done his little TED talk about the mystery box.
And then it's moved on to these 2 guys who
Exactly.
continue to write it for the rest of the
Right,
time.
but the mysteries were like always a huge part of like the concept of the show. But JJ kind of added that element as well as probably like more of an ensemble cast, which is a really diverse cast. It's like a lot of really good actors actually. So yeah, at some point he just completely turned it over to them. He was like a part of the pilot, but never moved on from there. But the first 2 seasons are really, really good. 3rd season starts to kind of slip because the ABC actually didn't want them to end the show. Like they wouldn't negotiate an end date with them. It's funny because when they okayed it, they didn't want it to be serialized. They wanted it to be a mystery of the week, kind of Gilligan's Island type thing.
Yeah.
Until JJ changed it. Then it gets changed, and then it's such a hit that they're like, okay, well now we got to keep rolling with it. Season 4 comes around, and there's a writer's strike. Y'all remember the writer's strike?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that really affected the last end of the series, which I still think was great. There was a time where I was such a fanboy of the show, I couldn't admit any faults in it at all.
Yeah.
But after you've seen it 15 times, you can start to
You could
Acknowledge
start
a bit
to
more.
see where the holes are.
Yeah.
How many seasons of Lost are there?
My
There are
guess is
6.
6.
Hey,
6
good
seasons.
guess.
Probably should have been around 5.
Now, that's got to be so difficult for writers to be told by the network, like, okay, we want this to be like this way. And then once you start writing it and get the story going, and then they're like, okay, we need it to change. Like, there is no end date, so just keep producing material. Like, the story, and it seems like such a strange and out there story that
It is. It's a very strange story, which is one of the reasons I really like it. It's very ambitious,
Yeah.
and it did shed viewers as it got more and more out there. But it's like a slow burn. The first season's like, oh, how are we going to get off the island? Second season, oh, well, there's other people on the island. How are we still going to get off the island? And it just keeps progressing into like really mind-bending kind of sci-fi fantasy concepts,
Yeah.
which I was always like really into, but I think it really shed some viewers around that time.
I'm the one that kind of likes the meta nature of these people are lost on this island and what to do, and so is the viewer. Like at times,
Yeah.
to where it's not all supposed to make sense. Like,
Well, the writers got a lot of flack. They were like, y'all are making it up as you go and blah, blah, blah.
That's what writers do, right?
Pretty much.
This
Yeah.
is
yeah, it is.
Plus, there was people that were planned to be in the final season that just decided they wanted to be written out. You know,
That's so strange to be around for that long and be like, "No, I'm done." It's like, no, it's the final season, please.
yeah. Well, they got wrote out in like season 3, but they had plans to keep them around.
Yeah.
But so the way they kind of handled that, because they were like, you know, there's some answers y'all aren't going to get. There's some questions you're not going to get answers to. And people are like,
That drives
so
people
terrified.
absolutely
Right.
insane.
But then they used the thing like nobody wanted an explanation for the Force. You know, like
Yeah.
Star
just
Wars
was.
works completely fine without any explanation of what the Force is.
And
too
then
much,
here comes
too much knowledge
Phantom
on the Force
Menace.
now.
Right.
The midichlorians.
And,
Stop.
and from a mystical force.
Edit this out.
Right.
Edit this out. Bleep them out.
Wipe it from the record.
Bleep every bit of that out.
Midichlorians, that's what decides if you can use the force. How about it?
And so, you know, it depends on where you fall on that line. Like, do you want it explained or do you not? And like I said, some of the things they give you just enough to make your own answers. But then some of them, they definitely needed like an answer and we didn't get it.
That's what I was going to say. I think whenever those questions that aren't going to get answered are a huge plot hole for the overall, for the large story, what would you call it? The macro story kind of involved with it. I think that's where the issues come into play. But whenever it's like the micro stories within it, like mysteries that don't completely solve themselves or like have a complete meaning, I like that. Like I like being kind of strung along and lost with the like people in the show.
Yeah.
And then, but whenever you've got huge plot hole, which I mean, there's a lot of argument for the newest Star Wars trilogy for the 7, 8, and 9. But I'm still in that fanboy phase of that series of the whole like, no, it all makes sense. And you can tie this together and see, it solves that problem. But I know 10 years down the road, I'm going to be like, okay. Well,
Well, I still have a little bit of a fanboy kind of, I've got my fanboy theories to make my arguments, like the numbers that you were talking about that you saw. So basically, Hurley, the big guy, he's like the big lovable goofball, and he's like one of the best characters. So he wins the lottery using those numbers because he used to be in a mental institution. And he heard this guy would sit there at the table, 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42, 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42, 4, 8, 50. So he'd constantly hear that all the time. So he played those numbers in the lottery. He wins the lottery. He becomes extremely rich. But has also turned his luck completely. He thinks he's unlucky now. But then, so basically that guy that he heard the numbers from used to be in the Navy and was out in the South Pacific and heard those numbers being broadcast, and eventually, out there near the island, lost his mind. That kind of plays into some of the time travel stuff. So anyway, there is a loop to where the numbers are explained in the show that you can be like, oh, well, there's the loop.
Yeah. And for someone who's watched just the first season, just you throwing out
I know everybody's
just casually. Oh, that's where the time travel comes into play. It's like, wait, there's what?
Season 5 is the time travel. Well, it sets it up a little bit in season 4, and then season 5 they're like, whoa, time travel.
Yeah,
full force.
And that makes me want to get back into it and watch it. Try it again.
Right.
It's really good. It's really good. There are slow moments. There are very slow moments.
I enjoyed the first season until they
now you can just stream it all, and you don't have to wait.
Yeah, but I was so upset. Like you're saying, there's answers that you want, and you don't get them. I wanted to know what was behind that door in season 1.
Yeah, they are. It's very cliffhanger heavy, but now that it's streaming, nobody cares about that.
Yeah.
But back then, you had to wait a week. That's what sent me to the message boards, type. And that's another thing that really solidified me as a nerd, and it became a part of not just me as a kid, but me as a future human being. Was getting on those message boards and everybody having these theories, because there's still so much that's unexplored from Lost. There was people that built statues and pyramids and temples on the island a long time ago that we don't know nothing about. But people would see the hieroglyphics in there, and then they would just write these academic essays and stuff, about what the hieroglyphics mean and all this. And so it really caused me to want to learn more, just about everything. And not many times has a piece of fiction sparked my mind
that. You've got in those message boards all these theories, that's setting up failure for the fans.
Yeah.
And that's week to week. So each week you've got 1 week to come up with all these theories, and whenever they come crashing down, you got that little disappointment, and you just move on. When I keep bringing Star Wars up
during watching it.
But with Star Wars, you've got a year and sometimes years in between coming up with all these crazy theories. So those build and they have this solidity to them.
It's crazy sometimes.
And that amount.
Tinfoil King here.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just whenever I used to get on the forums for KryptonSite.com, and I would get on the forum chat of Rumorville.
Smallville.
And it was it was all the rumors and fan theories, and based off of what you saw in the trailer, what do you think is going to go on, and this and that. Guys, I'm glad I never bet money on when I thought Clark was going to fly.
I was going to say something about him flying, because every time you bring up Smallville, you're so disappointed that he didn't fly.
Oh, I'm so... No, he flew. He flew.
The very last episode, right?
Yeah, and you know how anticlimactic it was?
Because you knew it was going to happen?
No, because of how awful it looked. He's hovering midair, in a super stiff pose, and his body shifts in that super stiff pose and just blasts forward. And there's no fluidity to it, and it looked real bad, but it still happened. There was a scene that made Dane and myself cry, though, so it was...
Yeah.
Always hold on to Smallville.
I'll cry again.
Right now?
Yeah, probably. Give me a minute. Lost.
Yes.
You could, squeezing that into 15 minutes, that's impressive.
That's right. I was about to say, that's rough.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
There's a lot
It's really
to
just,
that.
hey, y'all, go watch it.
I love
it. It's 15 years old by now.
So far, we've got Go Watch Dora the Explorer.
And the Lost City of Gold.
Gold. Not El Dorado.
Not El Dorado.
El Dorado.
It's your turn, Rooster.
Is it?
I'll go.
No.
Do I go?
No.
No.
I go.
Go.
I just want to put a gap in between the shows, because
Okay.
you're bringing a show too. Is that okay?
Gap it.
All right, I'm gapping it. Cosplay. I'll talk about cosplay, because growing up, Halloween as a kid was pretty much, unless you were at home, the only time that you got to dress up as a superhero or a Power Ranger or a Ninja Turtle or anything like that. Being able to don the costume and feel like you were this character that you love and have. Was I not supposed to talk about cosplay? Is that? Oh no, you guys aren't bowling, are you? The cops are coming.
I think that's an ambulance.
They've got pins. Get on the ground.
Oh no, what was I talking about?
I
Baseball
got you
cards?
again.
You said bowling.
Was I talking about? Okay.
This is where the last words.
Cosplay, and it starts off as kids dressing up as for Halloween, and as you get older, you still really want to do that, and you don't. It's not as accepted
don't want to admit it
in society. But then we have opportunities like comic conventions to where adults get to wear their Halloween costumes again, but spend a lot of money and time developing these epic like costumes that they get to wear for.
You don't know, or maybe you do.
I might.
You don't know
He
how
knows.
often I circle and just stock a $275 movie replica costume from a cosplay website.
Yeah.
Because they will take my measurements, they will custom fit it to me, measure it out, do the entire work on it, boots tailored to my size, and it just costs that much for it, and it looks amazing, and then I could get it and add my own things like armor, where I feel like there should be armor.
What is it?
Shazam.
It's a Shazam costume.
Well, I didn't know.
I said it.
You zoned out again.
There was this.
You said Shazam?
I did.
I made you a Shazam
Truly.
cape with the golden rope ties down the side of it and the gold trim around it with the white. It's a shoulder cape. It's the one that he used to use back when he was Captain Marvel, and I made it for him. It looks cosplay worthy.
And the best part about it was this was presented to me as a gift whenever he only had the side cape. Now in the modern iterations of him, he has a full cape with a actual hood on it. So the cape was actually made just a little bit too big when Dana got it for me, and like the collar on it was a little too floppy. But it was weird because it turned into a full cape with a golden outlined hood that had not existed yet in comic books.
He created it.
I created it.
He didn't even know it.
Have any of you cosplayed before ever?
I've never.
Not really.
I've
No.
bought. I mean, I got the Boba Fett helmet that I've bought.
Yeah.
I was in marching band.
That counts.
I've always,
Yeah, I guess
I've always felt like I could. Well, when my hair was a little shorter, I could have done a good Wolverine with my eyebrows. and
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there it is. I'm seeing those eyebrows.
Yeah.
Look, for all you listeners, he's got them.
That's it.
He's got those eyebrows.
That's the face too. Look at.
I'm a little
that.
nervous.
I'm terrified.
I don't like that.
I went.
Dude,
Oh no!
I'm
Listen
the
here,
man.
that's it.
I want you to be Wolverine now.
You want
You
me to
can
make some
still do it.
calls?
Yeah.
Get me in the new
Get you in the new X-Men?
I went whenever.
me replacing Hugh Jackman.
God,
Is it
please.
Hugh Jackman or Huge?
That's the Family Dollar
Ackman.
version right there.
I think it's Huge Ackman.
Huge Ackman. Okay.
The first comic convention I ever went to, I was on vacation in Florida, and it just happened to be there. I went to an FYE, and the person working was like, "Oh, are you in town for the comic convention?" I was like, "The what?" And it was like MegaCon, I think it was the name of it. I think it was MegaCon in Florida. It was huge, man. It wasn't that expensive to get a day pass to it or anything.
Where was it? Florida?
Florida.
That's a big
And
one.
it's a big one.
That's
and
huge.
being there, like and I've just had street clothes or whatever because I didn't plan on going to this thing. And the majority of people there were in cosplay. Like they were all decked out to the nines, like in these amazing costumes, and also some very bad, poorly made ones. There's like this weird threshold of either it's so crappy that it's funny, and they put effort into making it crappy on purpose. I love those so much. And then there's the in between to where they tried and failed but went for it anyway, and that takes a lot of guts to make something and it not be good whatsoever, but you gave it your all and you still do it anyway.
We should do that.
It'd be great.
We
Oh
should
my
all
gosh.
make cringy cosplay costumes,
do it. There's
and
no
then go to cons and just photobomb people with nice
It'd be
costumes.
great.
There have been years and years of dedication put into shaping my mind and body to fit into a superhero costume for a comic book convention and feel comfortable for one fucking day in my life, and you're not going to stand in the way of it.
No, this is what's going to happen. He's going to be the person we photobomb.
Oh yeah, there we go. We can just photo
Dress up all you want.
We went to the comic convention, and I got you just had you were in street clothes. I was just in a Shazam shirt that I had that was like a costume style, and this little kid, he was what, like 2, 3, just
I don't know.
barely
Kids' ages. I don't know. It's just
he
small.
was just fresh off the tit,
Small.
like
Yeah, sure.
and
He could walk.
yeah, but he was like talking to you because he was
No.
he thought you had a Deadpool mask on.
I bought it at the convention. It was like, I'm going to put this thing on.
And we just started walking out, and this kid was just like in awe because he saw Dane's Deadpool mask, which, by the way, fit perfect. And he ran up to him like, Mr. Deadpool.
He called me Mr. And it was like the sweetest thing ever. And I felt bad because I didn't have the rest of the
And Dane
costume.
instantly snapped
Into.
right into character.
I did.
He's like, what are you doing here, kid?
Oh yeah, I channeled my inner Ryan Reynolds in that moment, and I just all the movements, like the
That
face,
kid's
because
probably
they
sitting there
can't.
today telling this story
It could be
about meeting Mr.
but like, because
Deadpool.
in that mask you can't do the facial expressions and stuff, so it's just a lot of like quick head movements and things while you're talking, which I kind of already have anyway. A lot whenever I speak about things. Yeah, it's not a twitch, Marcus. It's like a
Oh, it's a twitch.
it's anime. Is it? Oh, well,
It's a twitch.
You got the turrets.
all right. But that moment was so magical, and the idea of putting an effort to something, and like with all the kids there who just they go to this place and see people so looking so realistic as these heroes that in their head, I mean, it's real. It's who that is, and he could definitely if you shaved and got the costume, like definitely.
No, what I would do is I've already got an edit in my mind for the way that I would do it, and it would be an older version of him. Like in the old comic book series, whenever he has to turn over his power to someone else, he dons the white robe and a longer hairstyle. Well, in this one, I would do the same idea with a different robe, and I would just get the one ordered and then paint it the color I wanted. But it would be white, and my beard would be longer, my hair would be longer, and I would do a white artificial color for my hair and facial hair.
And all day you could pass your powers to somebody else.
But just by them saying Shazam.
That's it. That's all I would say.
And you just
See, I
look
think-
at them.
They'd have to touch my staff and then say my name.
Oh no.
And that's what they did in the movie. They did. We just watched
Yeah,
it.
it's true. They even make a funny joke like gross. That's what they say, gross.
Yeah, they did.
You,
Touch my staff. No.
Gross.
Ew. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I could pull off an Obi-Wan, like because of my beard and build and things like that. But also Spider-Man,
Oh,
because I'm tall and lanky.
If you had
Yeah.
long hair, sorry.
Whoa, that
Whoa.
was- you went into the mic. You went inside. You became.
I was trying to get a closer look at John.
You became the microphone.
Hold on. Let's get Marcus out of the machine real quick.
Holy crap, that's better. Oh my god. So cold.
I wanted to speak into you there for a moment. That was good. What were you saying before you got real loud? Do you anything? I mentioned me.
I have no
I mentioned
idea.
me wanting to cosplay as.
Oh, if you had
Obi-Wan.
long hair, you might be able to do good Qui-Gon too.
See, that's I don't know.
a Qui-Gon.
Yeah, definitely.
Or Old Man Luke.
Yeah.
A little more gray in my beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or with the exact look you have going on right now, George Lucas.
Beans. I got to put on some weight.
Well,
That'd be somebody good to replicate, though.
Yeah, it would.
no, young George Lucas. He looked like you.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then pizza. And then now he's George Lucas.
Oh, I thought you.
Oh.
I thought you mean he like looked like
I thought
pizza
he
for a little
ordered
while.
pizza.
I was like, oh, ordered it.
That's
No.
what I thought.
That is exactly what happened, but way too often.
Who would you be?
Yeah.
Oh man, Boba Fett was my favorite like character in any like story or anything ever, and so like that's probably what I'd go for.
Just imagine having a
Boba.
set of homemade, like just Boba Fett armor.
Yeah,
That
oh.
you have painted and made yourself. Just imagine that, Rooster. You built your house.
I just did.
You'd be a good Bruce Bolton.
That's a barn.
You kind of look like Bruce Bolton.
Bruce Bolton?
Is that Michael's brother?
I think you're thinking of Bruce Banner.
No.
Hulk? No? Bruce?
Bruce Bolton.
Why does that name familiar?
Ramsey Snow's dad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You could do that.
He
You kind of look like him. That's why I was like, holy crap.
he murdered the wildlings north of the wall.
Yeah.
He murdered a lot of people.
I could probably
He
do
murdered
that.
Rob at the Red Wedding.
Let's yeah, no, we got to take that out, right?
Yeah,
we
that's got to come out.
Really?
Spoilers.
No, that show's so old now. Like it doesn't matter.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my topic.
That was a
Cosplay.
good one.
I think it's super neat.
I do
Yeah.
think we should all go one time. I think that's a great
Yeah,
idea.
I want
We
to.
should all go to one thing and dress up.
I've already looked into the price of us buying a booth for the day and actually doing the podcast while we were there.
There you go.
fun.
And we
Be a
could
lot
do
of
the dress. We could cosplay and podcast while we were there and stretch it throughout some episodes. Man, what do you
If
think?
it's
That will
less than
happen.
$50, I'm in.
Well, your contribution to it would
No.
probably be way less than that.
We're talking time and everything. Less than 50.
What do you want to talk about?
You're a sour
I want to talk about my time right now.
Get out of here. Leave. I'll cut it. I'll cut the whole thing 10 minutes short. I don't care.
September 25th, 2006.
If this is a never forget moment, I'm upset with
No,
myself.
this is one of your favorite TV shows. I think.
Uh-oh.
Maybe.
Does this
I'm
have to-
positive
does this-
Marcus has not seen it.
Does this have to do with like a?
That's not very-
Like
Was
a
it
guy
the
named
Bratz
I feel
TV
like
show?
you
Eccleston or Eccleston?
Oh, that's
or
superheroes. There's superheroes
Remember
in it.
was it the Bratz TV show?
No.
Like the dolls?
No, but I remember the dolls. Those were
Okay.
My Little Pony.
cute. Cute dolls.
Do you want me to
Anyway.
guess, or are you just going to tell me?
Heroes.
I've seen it.
Have you?
Oh,
I have seen
Really?
it. Yes.
I'm so happy that he's seen it.
we've
I
all
quit
seen
watching, though, when they made Siler a good
Good.
guy because
All I want to talk about is season 1.
Good.
Good.
That-
That's
nothing
the best
else.
One, yeah.
It's my
Thank you.
favorite one.
Yeah.
I have a special bond with it.
it's so good.
It was the last TV show that I rented from Blockbusters. And I would rent it, and it had 4 episodes per disc. I'd watch the 4, and then the next day I'd go back and rent the next one. And I did that for like, I don't know, 6 days. I forget how long it was. Because I think some of them only had 2 episodes on the disc, so you had to go back a little quicker. But man, I burned through that in like 3 or 4 days. Because I didn't watch it when it came out on TV.
What was the premise of the show Heroes?
So, save the cheerleader. That's all you really need
Save
to
the
know.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's about ordinary people who, like at the very beginning, they start finding out that they have these powers, like typical superhero stories. And then it starts affecting like their everyday lives is kind of how it begins. And then there's a certain person, Peter Petrelli and Claire Bennett. That's kind of who the story focuses on.
Hayden Panettiere.
So I forgot their real names, but I remember Hayden.
Never forget.
Yeah. That threw me off.
We'll get back to it here in a minute.
Yeah, we'll talk about her some more. Peter's kind of the hero of the story. I don't want to get like too deep into stuff that happens like later on about stuff, but he basically has the ability to absorb anybody's powers that he is at least in close contact to. And Claire has rapid cellular regeneration, basically Wolverine at like a hyper level.
Yeah.
But that's who they base it around. There's a guy, I think sometime in the story, there's a painter named Isaac Mendez who he was a drug addict. But
Premonitions.
when he would go into these doses, he would be able to paint the future, and that's where they find out like that New York City's going to blow up. And then it's finding out, wait a minute, how is it going to blow up? Because Peter, I think, is dating, or they both had dated the same girl. I think. Is that right?
Yeah. Because she was like He's like a nurse.
He's a hospice nurse. And I think at the beginning he's taking care of her like uncle or grandpa or something.
Something along those lines.
Somewhere around. I forget exactly
Yeah.
what it was. But she also has connections to this painter because they used to date, but I think the drugs like pushed her away, and so now she's dating Peter, and she's trying to get him to come and help this painter. And like through this process, he finds out that he can see the future, and he's gonna somehow New York City's gonna blow up from a nuclear explosion. And it turns out it's actually foreseeing a another person with special abilities. I forget. I know his name was Sprague, but he could basically just heat up and just super super hot.
Like
When
a reactor. He
and
was a
then,
reactor.
when he
Human
hits
reactor.
certain he would just explode.
Yeah.
I believe in the show he actually kills his family because he gets so mad in it that he just like
He blows up on 'em.
blows up. Yeah.
The show does a great job of making like introducing superpowers into a real world setting.
Yes.
Because you get that. I mean, there's a lot of parts of that show that you get kind of forget about the powers just because the characters are so interesting and just their lives.
Yep.
And then it's like something crazy happens like that, and
Yep.
it snaps you back into that world.
Hero Nakamura,
Yeah.
who's one of my
favorite.
favorite.
Yeah, mine too.
by
Nissan
far.
Basa.
Yeah, love the dude. Yeah, he could manipulate time though, and that's just like him learning how to manipulate time is one of my favorite like evolutions of a character because it's just like seeing him at the beginning in that office where he's just this nerd, just in an office, just working a desk job, and then all of a sudden he becomes like the most powerful person in the entire show with how like
Sure.
show.
Sure.
Entire show.
In the entire show.
Yeah.
You should have seen him in the show.
We've been watching out.
He was the most powerful in the
don't
whole
think we
show.
could
The
say
room is
show.
very bright.
Get on with the show.
Sorry, we derailed.
That's really
that one.
it.
Yeah. Oh,
that's really.
it.
I
all you
mean,
gotta
that's it.
do.
Let's just.
So
I
we
just.
kinda-
I'm happy
okay.
everybody talked.
I remember
has seen
his-
it, so like,
I really liked his brother, the politician.
Nathan.
He could
Nathan.
fly.
yeah,
Flying man.
Yeah.
Flying Man.
And then Claire was her name, right?
Yeah.
The cheerleader.
Claire
Her dad was
Noah.
like the catch a mutant guy.
He was
Like,
the
always
man with the horn-rimmed glasses. Yeah.
Yep.
He did such a good job.
Oh, very good job.
And he was also the senator that married Angela on your favorite television show, The Office.
It's true.
That's not
You didn't
my-
know
that's
that?
not my favorite
No, I was
television
talking to the general public.
show. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Zachary Quinto as Siler.
I was the
Amazing.
same with Rooster. Like as soon as he turned into like this good thing, I was like, no.
Me, not Rooster.
Oh,
That was my idea.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Marcus.
Don't
Because
you take this from him? It's all these guns.
for like the 6 or 7 episodes, that's what he's introduced himself as, right? So I'm Mark. I too am Marcus.
We're basically the same person.
We are the same person.
With the early 2000s TV shows on the same podcast.
Thank you. You know what's really funny?
And we had a combined segment.
I almost made my TV show the new Lord of the Rings one because I wanted Marcus to tell me about his thoughts on it. I came this close to choosing it.
Yeah.
That's
That
exciting.
close. That's
That would be
connected
one
I
of
was.
those probably shows where we meet up
Yeah.
every week and watch it together.
Oh, yeah,
I think That
definitely.
would be great.
That'd
You
be
see,
fun.
I
Definitely.
Wheel of Time as well. Wheel of Time might be fun to do.
I
Yeah.
float on my own little island, much like Lost. I float on my own little island, and Dane just sits back and goes, "Why?"
What?
I'm talking topic wise.
Oh.
You guys were talking about
We were
like your
gone.
your co-op
Back.
and your same wavelength. I'm just Dane's.
Oh, we're the opposite.
Dane's here to reel me in. Like no.
It's really obscure. We got to bring it back.
Bring
so
it
there's
back.
some people
Bring it
that
back.
understand.
Bring it back.
But you always find a happy medium. Always.
Just like my steaks,
Every time.
burnt.
No. Slow medium.
Slow medium.
Yeah.
That's your favorite way to.
Cooking a steak, slow medium.
That's the
Slow
way he
medium?
describes himself
No.
psychically.
You got to get it super.
I'll call you back next week. Hey, Granny said, make sure that you don't. And that's all I got. See you next.
Slow medium. Like
See
a,
you
Slow
next
medium,
week.
right there.
Yeah,
I'll
right
call
there.
you back next week with some
Next
more
week.
information.
you got to cook a steak at the super hot pan.
No.
And just slap it on there for like
No,
30
30 seconds.
Yeah, barely. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, get it super
Get hot butter.
Char it up nice and
Yeah.
char.
Check it and
Yeah.
see.
You throw it in the pan and then you bake it in the oven. That's how
You
you
see,
do it.
I've never done that method, but I think it's a really good way of making a really juicy steak.
Yeah.
And I've never, because I've got that cast iron. I cook everything.
We should
on
think
cast
about that
iron.
more often.
He and I both just always have dirty cast iron pans on the stove because that's what you do
There's
with
nothing
them. You
better
just
than
keep
cooking
them
on a dirty pan, though.
And they really just
Because most of the stuff we cook has something to
Man.
do with bacon or some kind of grease like that. And
Yesterday's dinner is like the best seasoning for tonight's dinner.
yeah. It's
It's the truth.
It's like dinner plus, and you get to reminisce of the old days when you ate that meal.
Or if you make breakfast and then like you just
the bacon grease that was in the pan
Oh, yeah,
before.
the
You
little
just
egg.
Just leave it there
using
all
the
day.
little bits of egg that you left in the pan, just let them just
You said
get-
the way
get
you're
all in there.
describing eating and cooking food, I think you would like the keto diet
Yeah.
because it's a bunch of greasy.
Were you? Were you just? To our viewers listening, Marcus was just nuzzling his microphone, and nobody knows what's happening.
He thought, okay, Marcus thought we were all paying attention to Richard, and so he takes his mustache and starts rubbing it back and forth on his microphone because I guess it feels good. Rubbing makes him feel really good. So, and we all made eye contact with him at the same time.
He disintegrated.
Yes.
It just collapsed to the table.
I really did think I was alone.
That's some next level zone out. That's absolutely next level.
You know how this whole segment of the whole show is just in the red like the entire time. But you know how if you're sitting there sometimes and you're rubbing your finger on like the bend of your elbow and it just feels real nice, and you're like, man, if somebody saw me doing this right now, it looked really weird, but it feels good, so I'm gonna keep doing it. This was that like times 5. Like, you weirdo. What is your malfunction? Like,
It's the strangest thing
Hold on.
I've ever seen.
we all have mustaches. We all now have to try it. So
To the right and to the left.
come on. Let me see how this feels.
I see a little bit. I see what he reads. It's a
That's
little
not-
tickling. Is
Yeah,
that what it is?
it's a little-
That's pretty comforting. All I need is somebody to rock me now, and I'll go to sleep.
And it doesn't make a sound, so he can do it real sneaky like where nobody else knows it's happening.
That's why you guys at home never knew he was doing it.
And the smell of the pop filter over the mic. This is good. We could just do an ASMR episode where you're just rubbing your mustache back and forth with the microphone.
Trying to make a sound
This
effect.
is Nerdy to the Grapevine.
It's just
Where 4 best friends gather. We tore up their mustache.
better when Marcus does it, though.
Talk of mustache. This is nice.
Oh, boy. Oh, God. It's like,
Oh man, that was fantastic.
oh, boy.
Yeah,
Man.
that was good.
So
You
we
did
got
it for sound effects? Is that what he said?
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I can't even defend myself.
No, you can't. You just have to sit there and own it.
You just got to, yeah.
That's gonna be really hard to edit that whole part.
Don't edit. What are you
No,
talking
no, I'm
about?
gonna-
That's the soft open. That's ours.
We've got a Twitter. It's at Nerd Grapevine. We're on Instagram, Nerd It Through the Grapevine. Website, bestfriendstinyinc.com. And that's all. I think that's all the places we are. I don't know. You can listen to us everywhere. Like we really are on like 12 different platforms. I've really gotten it out there.
Take your pick.
Yeah, take your pick. I don't care. But you're already listening to it, so I think you've already picked. I
And
don't know.
if you
But
if you don't listen to us, it's because you're choosing not to.
yeah, and that's fine. You have a choice.
You
I'm
have,
not going to
you have
make
a
you.
choice.
I don't know. I might put headphones on some
But
people.
If
Do
I
not-
saw somebody in person, I'd make them.
Just make
But
them.
do
yeah.
not tell me that you couldn't find it.
Yeah,
'cause
because
it's
it's out there.
everywhere.
It's
Yeah,
there.
out there. Yeah, if you're on Spotify now, but you prefer iTunes, go over to iTunes. We're there too. That's fine.
Go to YouTube.
Leave us a rating. Put the 5 stars on there. Like and subscribe.
We've never said that.
Hit the bell. I
We
don't
have
know.
a bell?
When did
Probably.
Christopher Walken get here to tell people what to do?
There it is. With
With that mustache
You were there?
rub.
I
It
was
was a
there for a
magical
second, but I
rub.
can't finish it.
So she said.
Thank you.
Austin, when life gives you grapes,
Tennessee, male, taken.
we already did that.
I'm getting married in like 13 days. I'm excited.
I'd be excited too. I love going to weddings.
Marcus is still touching his mustache.
I'm sorry.
He's so upset with what he's done.
Milk 'em.
You got nothing new. Dadgummit. Okay,
Take your pick.
for the outro, can we all just rub our mustaches on the microphones real quick? All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Do it without making this noise.
This has been a pleasant
Next time, and
experience.
enjoy Nerd It Through the Grapevine with us.
Hey, thank you for letting me do this.
Say, yeah, you're welcome.
Now look directly at each other, and that's what ladies see.